Kim, I want to talk a little bit about your spirituality, and one of the thoughts that I sometimes think about when I think about any form of religion is, if it was so amazing, why is there so many negative things in the world, and why do people die, and why do children get hurt and things like that? So my question to you is, with regards specifically to the way spirituality makes you feel and how it leads your life, my question is there a thin line between love and hate?
I don't think there's a thin line. I think there is a big, thick line. What I would say is that there is only one true emotion that is a creative emotion, which is love. We've all heard the expression "God is love," right? Well, all of creation stemmed from that emotion that God has. Hate is a fear-based emotion. Hate or fear. Sorry, fear has many heads. Jealousy is fear. Fear of not having enough, or feeling of not having enough is fear. Fear of lack. Anger is a form of fear. You could probably think of a few more. All these negative emotions.
So do you think the word hate is used out of context or overused?
Well, it depends what context it's used in. You could say, I hate peas. I prefer baked beans, but I hate peas. I just don't like the colour of them. Or the fact that you can't always get the fork in and they sort of jump all over your plate, when you miss. I hate peas. Do you really hate peas?
Yeah.
Do you want to go and murder them?
Yeah.
It's a form of an expression. It's an improper use of the English language.
Yeah.
You should say really, I don't hate a pea. How can you hate a pea? You can say I prefer beans to peas. But if you say I hate a person, now we're in a different realm. So we then get to, why do I hate that person? What is it in me, not them, what is it in me that leads me to have that feeling? Is it because I don't understand them? Is it because I don't know them? What is it? So you really got to look at yourself.
Yeah.
You got to look at yourself first and say, because if you were a totally loving person, you wouldn't hate anybody. Even if that person was doing something that they shouldn't be doing, something that may be harmful to somebody else. I think the thing that really sticks in my mind on this subject is the thing that Jesus said on the cross. He said, "Forgive them, Lord, for they know not what they do." These are the Romans who killed him. It wasn't really the Romans, it was the Sanhedrin, but let's don't get into that one. That's politics. But forgive them, Lord, for they know not what they do. So he was being understanding, and he was saying, well, these people do not have the wisdom to understand what is really going on here. And So does that answer the question?
Well, it opens it up. I know for me, I think both words are overused and are completely taken out of context, and it's almost like they lose their value, and I appreciate it depends on the context. And the other thing I was thinking of, although I can't remember, I read something in the news yesterday about a hideous crime that's happened in the last 12 months in this country, and how the parents came out and forgave whoever. And there's a couple of other examples, historic examples that I remember at the time thinking a horrific crime had been committed against a person, and the third person would forgive them. And I think one of them was definitely a priest. He was the father of a crime that was committed towards his daughter. And I'm a person. I'm a female, and I'm a mom. I'm lots of things. But I sort of envy and respect the fact that someone can see the difference between love and hate, and can forgive someone for something horrendous. And I probably personally need to delve into that more if I wanted to, but I don't think I could. Depends on, if the worst thing possible happened to someone I deeply cared for, I don't think I could. I think there would be hate there, is basically what I'm saying.
Okay, well, you've touched on one of the absolute most important aspects of, well, not just Christianity, all the true faiths, really. Simon Peter, the lead disciple, said to Jesus, "How many times should I forgive?" And Jesus said, 70 times 7.
70 times 7.
Yeah. Now, he didn't mean 490. What he meant was, you've just got to keep doing it. It's forgiving somebody that has done something terrible to your family, it's got to be the hardest thing in the world. But if you can find a way to do it, you have won. You have almost negated the need for you to keep coming back to earth to learn your lessons. You have won. You have won the victory, because it is the hardest thing to do, because you've overcome fear. You've overcome all fear-based emotions, and you've gone back to love. So really, this is. Some people say. I mean, my mum used to say to me, Kim, if there was a God, why does he let all these nasty things happen? And I think we all thought that before. Everybody's thought it. But behind that there is an immense amount of understanding of God's laws that you need to know before you can even get to the bottom of it. I mean, one of the most important of the 7 great principles, as Hermes called them, is the law of cause and effect. For every cause, there is an effect. And the law of karma is an aspect of the law of cause and effect. So in other words, if you commit a crime against a person, that debt that you've incurred, you will have to repay. So, if I murder a member of your family, then that means that the law of karma will dictate that I will have to suffer the same fate at some point in the future.
Literally, so that a murder would equate a murder, or death would equate
an eye for an eye.
Yeah, I was going to say eye for an eye. Yeah.
So that's really what when we say an eye for an eye, that we're talking about the law of karma, or the karmic debt. But that's not the end of it. That's only the beginning of it, because we then have to look behind the situation, and we have to say, well, why did I murder the member of your family. What was my reason? Was it that I'm paying back that person for something that they did previously?
Okay.
Am I an instrument of God's law, the law of karma? Some people play dark roles. Some people play angelic roles. Some people play dark roles. So, there is, with every life on earth, there is a giant rabbit hole that goes all the way down and goes back over many, many lifetimes. And I know a lot of people say that there is no such thing as reincarnation, but it was actually taught by Jesus. It's in the Lord's Prayer. Forgive us our trespasses as we forgive those that trespass against us. That's a reference to the law of karma.
Yeah.
And it's also about forgiveness. So you've got the two elements there working together. So yes, forgiveness is a tough one. I wrote a song called Dark Roles, which is one of the core songs on the album, which goes into how hard it is to forgive. What more can I say, really? I can quote you a personal example that I had, and I think I might have mentioned this before in a previous interview with somebody else. But I was about 8 or 9 years old at school. It was break time, lunchtime. I was wandering about the school grounds, and this boy comes up to me and whacks me in the face with his fist. Fortunately, he caught me in a place where it didn't hurt too much. But it didn't give me a shock. So I looked at him and I thought, I knew the boy. I didn't have any grudge against him, or there was no previous problems between us. And I thought, why the hell did he do that? What was his motivation? And I was thinking about that. I'm not thinking about whacking him back, because I was pretty tough when I was a kid. I was very strong. I was a very fast runner, very athletic. And he looked at me and I looked at him, and he couldn't work out why I hadn't hit him back. He was expecting me to hit him back. He wanted to start a fight. That's what it was all about. And I thought, no, I'm not going to. And he didn't know what to do. He was completely speechless, in the sense that he didn't know how to react to my non-reaction. And he just wandered off, the tail between his legs. Now, thinking about it now, if I'd have taken up the cudgel, picked up the proverbial, what the knights used to do, the challenge, one of us would have been seriously injured, as I would have tried to kill him.
Is that what you would do now?
No. I'd never do that. But if you're in a situation where your life is being threatened, it's a case of him or me. Yeah. Then you will go to that.
Yeah, and I think most people
That's called self-defence.
Yeah, and it's that fight and flight sort of feeling that you get. When you're in danger, you have to think of either them or you. And I think most people can resonate with what they would do in that situation. I know when I've done work on psychology, we talk about all the emotions, obviously, but once specifically that I always remember, and I always remember disagreeing with the tutor who I absolutely valued, was guilt. And he was basically teaching us and saying that guilt is a wasted emotion, because it eats away at you, and it has no value. It serves no purpose. But I don't know about the rest of the people in the room, but I always remember thinking, no, guilt does have its place. And I know we were talking a bit about sort of love and hate, but guilt for me sits in the middle of those two. And bearing in mind, I'm very much about the reasoning behind everything and the behaviour behind everything. I think that's where hate sits, guilt sits with me, is it's because I'm divided between love and hate. So the in-between for me would be the guilt.
Well, I would look at it slightly differently. Sophie, in the sense that I would say that guilt is part of the emotion of fear. Now, we've all done things that we wish we hadn't done, and we've all felt the emotion of guilt. But one of the cornerstones of attempting to be a loving person and to remove fear from your life, the first thing that you have to do is love yourself. You cannot love anybody else if you hate yourself. Impossible. So guilt to me would be part and parcel of that. So if you feel guilty about something, try and rationalise it, and then try and forgive yourself. That's how I deal with that. Or if the guilt is a result of some negative karma that you've caused to somebody else, then you've got to find a way of making up for that in some way, doing some good deed or whatever. But you've got to turn that guilt into love. Either that's what you've got to do.
And it's something that Jesus talks a hell of a lot about in the Bible, about pretty much turning everything back to love, doesn't he, really? Love, sharing, forgiveness, being holier than the next person.
Turning the other cheek.
Yeah.
Turning the other cheek, yeah. That's an interesting one. You've got to be a bit careful. If somebody's going to attack your family, you don't turn the other cheek, you defend them. But there are, in the right context, yes, that can work. That can work. But we are allowed to defend ourselves.
Yeah.
That is perfectly acceptable.
Yeah.
And if you don't protect your family, then you're going to create karma.
Yeah.
We get into a very interesting subject. There's so many back doors here.
No, I agree, and I've been working independently on a couple of things recently, and it was one of them coincidentally came from a love aspect, and one of them came from a hate aspect, and and I like to learn and I like to explore and pick things apart, and what I find about both those subjects is each time I go there, I find something new to think about or analyse or. Is it really love? Is it really hate? So, and obviously you can put context to it because it's specific to whatever I'm doing at the time. But it's definitely two very sort of, I feel, contentious words that, again, I go back to what I said earlier. I think I think they're overused. And we say them quite flippantly. I love pizza. I love peas. Do you really love peas? do you really love pizza?
It's abuse of the English language.
But yeah, and it's and it's the same with hate. I hate peas. I hate pineapple on pizza. Do you really hate? Because then I think, well, if I really loved pizza, how do I feel about my son? It's almost a disservice with my son, because it's like saying I love my son the same as pizza, and I clearly don't. I love my son more than pizza. But you get what I'm saying,
yeah.
Which is why my opening question is, is there a difference? Is there a thin line between love and hate? It's interesting to see your side on it, really.
I think really the way I perceive it is love and fear are two very distinct emotions. Let's call them emotions. That may not even be the right word, but let's call them that. They're very distinct, but they manifest, certainly on the fear side, it manifests its way in so many different ways. But if it's not loving, then it's fearful. It's fear. So really, that's quite easy to way of looking at it. That's the only two emotions that there are. Nothing else.
And how often would you experience fear, sort of now in your present life?
I'll tell you a short story. When I was a young man, about 26, 27, I went out with this girl who was PA to the managing director of the firm that I worked for. And we got on extremely well. And one day she came into the office and she said, I've been to see this medium down the road. And she was telling me all about you. I said, what? She said you're going out with this guy called Kim. And she told me about all the things that this lady had said about me. And I thought, crikey, I need to go and see her, obviously. So I went. And she was incredible. I mean, I'm going back a long, long time now. And everything she said came true. Everything. It was so accurate. And I think we've still got a few things to go, because some of the things she told me haven't quite happened yet. But I've lost my thread now. What was the question?
We were talking about, you were giving an example on fear.
Right. So anyway, I went to see this lady quite a few times. And then one day I'm sitting there and she said, Kim, I've given you a fantastic future. She said, I see thousands of people in the course of a year. And she said, your breathing is just brilliant in every way. I said, why do you keep coming? I said, reassurance.
Okay.
Reassurance. So maybe the fear that I've had over many years is that this wonderful prophecy, if you like, will not be fulfilled. And that was my fear. I think it's still there. It's still there.
So almost like too good to be true, sort of. Will it happen? Yeah. Yeah.
But I'm sitting in a recording studio, music production studio. She predicted all of this all that time ago.
Yeah.
These houses were only built 6 years ago. So that's an example, I suppose, of one of mine. Yeah. But I don't have any. But
if that happened many years ago, from the sounds of it, it's so far so good. It's all come out. It's all happened.
Yeah, I mean, she said don't try and quote me on timing. She said, because I can't give you timings. But she said you're going to get a parking ticket.
Okay.
Very soon, and the next day I got one.
Oh, wow.
I remember that one.
Yeah. So your fear for that example must be over time must have got less because the things have come true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's yeah.
And I think in the time and the place, I think fear is an okay emotion. You know, there's a need for all the emotions. But,
well, I've always said that, you know, as a performer, I mean, I've played lots of gigs, and I've stood up and done presentations to large groups of people. If you don't have a little bit of nervousness, which is another form of fear, a little bit of nervousness, I think very often the performance can go flat.
Yeah.
I think fear, that sort of expectation, can help in some ways. Certainly.
Yeah, no, I get that, and you hear that a lot anyhow over artists, don't you? They still, you know,
break a leg.
Yeah, they still get nervous before a gig, and I guess it's you know, you have that raised expectation, and in along, you know, what comes a little bit of fear in that, because it's that not knowing until it's done, and then you realise you didn't need to be, but obviously the moment's passed.
I used to be quite a good sprinter when I was younger, and if it was an important race, you know, I was usually had a bit of butterflies. You know.
Yeah.
But as soon as I was off, it went.
Yeah.
And the adrenaline took over.
Yeah. At least we know you're alive.
Absolutely.
Thank you for that. Thank you for sharing that with us.
Thank you.